Good morning. This webinar offers closed captioning. Welcome to the City of Chicago Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection free business education webinar. This webinar is being recorded and will be available at youtube.com/ChicagoBACP. There will be a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. All BACP webinars are part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program, which is a free program for anyone interested in starting or growing a business in Chicago. Getting your certificate is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1, register for the program. 2, attend 6 webinars in 6 months. 3, graduate to get your certificate. Graduating makes you eligible to apply for a CIBC Bank Entrepreneurial Loan Program. Note that you must already be registered for the program to get credit for attending today's webinar. For full details, visit chicago.gov/BACP certificate. Views, information, and opinions expressed during this webinar are those of the presenter and are not the official policy or position of the City of Chicago or BACP. The information mentioned will be posted in the chat box. Today's webinar will be the red flags of fraud presented by the Better Business Bureau. Turning over to Melanie.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining this morning to learn more about the red flags of fraud. So we're going to talk about how you can spot cons and scams and ensure you and your loved ones do not lose money to fraudsters. The BBB has partnered with the FINRA Investor Education Foundation to provide BBBs with tools and knowledge to help educate the public about financial fraud. Through this partnership, these organizations, along with BBBs nationwide, have provided trainings and workshops to over 100,000 individuals since 2012. And for those who are not familiar, FINRA stands for Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, which is a non-governmental organization that regulates brokerage firms and exchange markets in the U.S. My name is Melanie Nicasio, and I currently serve as the program manager at the Better Business Bureau here in Chicago. With over 12 years of experience at the BBB, one of my tasks is overseeing our scam tracker reports and investigating businesses that may be engaging in deceptive practices. By identifying emerging trends and deceptive activities, this enables our organization to inform the public and raise awareness, helping both consumers and businesses avoid fraudulent schemes. So how big is the problem? Well, fraud reports to the FTC totaled $12.5 billion just in 2024, which is a 25% increase over 2023. This number only includes scams that people chose to report to the FTC. The actual dollar amount could be billions more. Scammers are creative and they stay on top of hot trends to know what's current and where people may be vulnerable. If you just look at which scam types are perpetrated most frequently, you'd be missing the bigger picture of which scam types have the biggest impact on marketplace trust and on victims' wallets. So we look at 3 different factors to assess scam risk: exposure, susceptibility, and monetary loss. We call this the BBB Risk Index. Exposure is a measure of the prevalence of a scam type, or more simply, the volume of scams reported. A relatively high exposure measure indicates a greater likelihood of being targeted by a particular scam type, whereas a relatively low exposure measure indicates that a scam type is less common. Susceptibility is a measure of the likelihood of losing money when exposed to this scam type. A low susceptibility rate means you're likely to spot the con and walk away without giving the scammer a dime, while a high susceptibility rate means you're more likely to lose money if you face this scam type. And of course, monetary loss. If you lose money, how much would it likely be? You may visit bbb.org and use the risk calculator to learn more about which scams are most likely to target you. Before I reveal what's behind these question marks, what do you think were the top riskiest scams for consumers in 2024, according to our data? I'll give you guys a few seconds to think about it, and let's see if you thought of the right ones. All right, let's reveal the answers. Number 1 comes in at investment and cryptocurrency scams. Number 2, employment scams. And at number 3, we have romance friendship scams. We added cryptocurrency as a scam type in 2019. It has landed in the top 10 riskiest scam types ever since. This year, we combined investment and cryptocurrency scams because most cryptocurrency scams involve investment scenarios. And this scam type rose to be the number 1 riskiest scam type in 2023. As you can see, this is the most riskiest for people 35 and over. And it's number 2 for ages 18 to 34. So just, those coming into college or getting out of college and getting into the real world there. Median dollar loss is $5,000 and 80% reported losing money when they are targeted. So in 2007, the FINRA Foundation and AARP conducted a nationwide study of nearly 500 investors aged 55 to 64. So this sample included both the fraud victims and a general population of investors that could also include additional victims. So the key risk factors for investment fraud, 1 is owning high-risk investments. This demonstrates tolerance for risk, and fraudsters look for this in deciding who to target. Relying on friends, family, coworkers for advice. A third of the national sample, about 70% of victims, made an investment based on advice from a relative or friend. Being open to investment information. 3 times as many victims went to a free investment seminar than the national sample. Number 4 on the list is failing to check background and registration of professional or product. So 80% didn't check for previous law violations, and most didn't check registration of the professionals or the product. And the last one is inability to spot persuasion tactics used by fraudsters. 46% reported that they are more likely to follow a professional's advice if the professional has credentials or knowledge in the financial matters. Our BBB scam tracker data shows that investment scams are a top risky scam each year. This is because those who were targeted were very likely to lose money. About 8 in 10 people who reported a scam in BBB scam tracker said they suffered a loss. You may hear other types of scams like grandparent scams or home improvement scams mentioned more frequently, but that makes it even more important to learn about investment scams. The median loss in the BBB Scam Tracker Risk Report was $5,000 in 2024, and the FTC reported that over $3 billion were lost last year alone to investment scammers. Here you can see the different ways that victims were reached to participate in this investment opportunities. An online contact is the top, followed by an advertisement or social media posts like on Facebook or Instagram. Other ones are from family or friends, or an employer or potential employer that asks them to invest, and online investment clubs. Some tactics that used in the scam are paying with cryptocurrency, being part of a multi-level marketing scheme, and joining investment club and more. The number of employment scams reported to BBB Scam Tracker increased 54% from 2022 to 2023. Scammers perpetrating employment scams often use a high-touch approach, spending significant time preparing elaborate setups. For example, scammers conduct in-depth interviews via Google Hangouts, WhatsApp, and other online technologies, provide employment forms for targets to fill out, and ask their targets to perform job duties before the scam is discovered. The biggest motivational factors that convinced people to engage with these job offers were the flexibility to work from home, getting higher pay, flexible hours, better job focus, and others did not report. The number 3 riskiest was romance and friendship scams. In these scams, scammers create fake online identities to gain a victim's affection and trust, building an illusion of a romantic relationship or friendship with the intention of manipulating and stealing from them. We're hearing more reports of scammers building relationships and eventually convincing them to put money in fake platforms. Once the target invests a significant amount of money, they find they can no longer withdraw the funds. Number 4 is online purchase scams. This involves fake websites where shoppers are tricked into paying for items that are never received by them. It could be fake items, it could be damaged when delivered, or completely different than what they ordered. Number 5, we have home improvement scams. These scams involve fraudulent contractors who target homeowners needing repairs, renovations, or upgrades. This could be door-to-door solicitations when they come to your door and see if you're needing pavement repair, roofing repair, garage repair, etc. These scams result in shoddy and or incomplete work, large financial losses, especially if you're paying upfront, and sometimes even more damage to your property. So awareness is the key to prevention. It is statistically proven that prevention is the key. We need to tell our family, friends, and loved ones what scams we've encountered and what the red flags are. If a person can spot the warning signs of a scam, they're much more likely to walk away and not lose their hard-earned money. So people who avoided losing money felt something wasn't right. It's that gut feeling. They research the type of scam or offer that they receive to see if it's legitimate or if it's something that they should stay away from. They also research the background of the scammer. So if the scammer is claiming that they're licensed or they have certifications or they own multiple businesses, people were able to look that up and see if it's true and get a lot more information. And people also knew about the methods of what scammers do in general. And they also reached out to the BBB or another fraud fighting organization for advice. So spot the signs. I'm gonna share some scam tracker reports that we receive. And this is from investment or employment scams. And you'll be able to hear what these victims went through and what the scammers, I guess, what they did in order to get the money from these victims. So the first one, we had a victim report that they lost $150,000 in an investment. She was contacted by a finance coach and persuaded them to invest through a platform. This individual sent Bitcoins as part of the investment. However, when it came time to receive the returns, they were told additional fees were required. And then despite paying the additional fees, more charges were demanded for different reasons, and ultimately, the victim never received any payment. Another scam where someone lost about $9,000. This is an employment one. The incident began where this victim was contacted by someone claiming to be Mark from a recruiting company, and they were offering a job opportunity. Well, later that day, another woman named Sophia reached out via WhatsApp, presenting herself as a mentor for a remote side job platform. Sophia guided this victim through what appeared to be a structured onboarding process, including logging into a website and completing tasks. Communication was conducted primarily through WhatsApp, and Sophia eventually requested they switch to her private number. The job involved completing daily product maintenance tasks, which initially required small financial transactions to build trust. So she was sending money. However, the situation escalated with the introduction of super orders, which demanded increasingly large deposits to continue task completion. Over several days, the individual transferred significant sums from $550 to $2,500 and $5,800 under the promise that all funds would be returned upon task completion. However, a final demand of $13,900 raised serious concerns, especially after being told it was needed to clear a hidden negative balance. The individual became convinced that the operation was fraudulent, citing suspicious behavior such as staged WhatsApp groups, inconsistent photos, and the use of multiple identities by the same person. And the last example that I have, this victim lost about $5,500 on an employment scam as well. The individual received a job invitation via text message, and after conducting a search on the company, she accepted the offer. During the course of the job, though, they were told that they had made a mistake and needed to purchase and send cryptocurrency to correct it. They were also asked to send additional funds to complete an order with repeated assurances that all money sent would be reimbursed. We see a lot of these where they are told, send us money, we'll make sure it gets back to you. And we continue to see this in our scam tracker reports. So the big one here is don't give out money unless you're sure you know who you're talking with, and that you're sure that it's going to come back to you if that's what you're promised. Now that you've heard these examples, think about some of the indications that these were scams. And now you're well on your way to stopping fraud by spotting the warning signs. More often than not, we get a gut sense that something is off. So what we need to do is take action. If you personally experience a situation like this, walk away. By sharing what you learned today, you can help save your loved ones from falling victims to scams. Now let's talk about some tactics used by scammers. Phantom riches. A phantom is something you want but can't have. And if it sounds too good to be true, it probably isn't real. Think, what is the salesperson really saying? Are they dangling incredible returns, guarantees, risk-free investing? Are they saying that the investment itself will lead to a different and much better lifestyle? If so, I would ask proof, right? If they're saying you can make this amount of money in such a short amount of time, I would always ask for, well, show me that this is something that actually happens. Source credibility. We all want to speak to someone who is licensed or seems credible, but anyone can put on a suit or rent a nice office. Senior and professional title designations impress us. The way someone is dressed, their certificates, referrals from friends make someone seem credible, but credibility can be faked. Check background, registration, licenses. These all can be verified through various licensing agencies via their websites. Be aware of how surroundings influence credibility. Social consensus. If everybody wants it or is doing it, it must be okay. So for example, if everyone at my church is investing in this, then it's probably fine. Peer pressure is the key tactic behind affinity fraud. We can probably all think of examples of this kind of influence. Think about whether you are interested in the product. Does the pitch focus on how many others have bought the product? Some people may have a biased opinion or may be part of the fraud, meaning they might be compensated to tell you how great the investment is. Reciprocity. This is when they offer to do a small favor for you in return for a big favor. For example, I'll give you a break on my commission if you buy now, half off. Examples also include free lunch or dinner seminars or free gifts such as mailing labels. We're not suggesting that these practices are always bad, but this tactic does prey on vulnerability. If someone gives you a free lunch, you might feel more pressure. Just be cautious about free lunch or dinner seminars. While cloaked as education seminars, most are sales presentations. Seniors are heavily marketed to through free investment seminars using common persuasion tactics. Most seniors have received invitations to free investment seminars. More than half of those have received 6 or more invitations in the past 3 years. And 25% of seniors have attended at least one seminar in the past 3 years. 51% would attend another investment seminar, while another 34% were contacted after the seminar about buying an investment product, and many felt pressure to invest. If someone gives you something, you feel obligated, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, to give something in return. The ask may not happen at the moment of the seminar, but often through follow-up contact. Scarcity. This is when the scammer is creating a false sense of urgency by claiming limited supply. There are only 2 units left, so I'd sign today if I were you. Home shopping TV creates that sense of scarcity. If you don't act now, it might not be available later. That's the thought. The scarcity tactic is intended to escalate emotions. Sometimes it's true, but beware. If the offer sounds too good to be true, and another one of the red flags are raised, walk away. Now let's talk about investment fraud prevention. There are a few easy steps that we'll review in the next few slides. For investments, it's easy to go on FINRA's website to check background or registration at their broker check page. This will give you professional designation database on finra.org, where you can enter in the initials of a professional designation, and you will get a description of what was involved to get that designation. You will also be able to see if that investment advisor is actually registered or if there's been any actions taken against them. The professional designations tool helps you better understand the alphabet soup of letters beside a person's name, and can be used as source credibility as part of the scam. So check this professional designation database to see what the letters stand for, who the issuing organization is, what the experience or educational requirements are, whether there is a complaint or disciplinary process that is available, and whether the designation is accredited by anyone. On the website, you'll also find numerous tips to help you. So it's important to have a refusal script ready to go. Not all of us have one, but none of us want to be the bad guy and tell somebody no thanks on a great offer. But the risk often outweighs the reward. So it's always best to ask questions and check to see if they are who they say they are, especially when it comes to investing your life's savings. So don't pick up the phone for a number you don't know. You could register your phone number on the do not call registry. Never rush to an investment decision. So do some homework or research and make sure that you are comfortable with the investment. And always be ready to say no to a fraudster. So if you hear an offer too good to be true, just say no. If you hear that everyone, including famous celebrities, are hopping on this investment opportunity, just say no. If you hear, join us for this investment seminar and receive a free lunch and one-on-one coaching session, just say no. If you hear, act now, offer going fast, just say no. And do your homework first. If they are who they say they are, they'll give you their business card and allow you to do the due diligence to look up their credentials and verify they are licensed. So just to recap, here are the red flags to look for in a scam. You have the phantom riches, social consensus, reciprocity, scarcity, and source credibility. Fraudsters don't want you to ask questions. Research has shown that they are less likely to continue a pitch when the potential victim actively questions them. The more questions you ask, the more frustrated a scammer might get and may think that you've caught the scent of their scam. Remember, businesses and legitimate investment professionals must be properly registered and licensed. So before you give out personal information, always ask questions. Are you and your firm registered with the SEC, FINRA, or a state securities regulator? Is this investment registered with the SEC or a state securities regulator? And how does this investment make money? Then check to see if what they've said is true. Verify that if they are selling investments, their firm is registered with FINRA and the SEC or state securities regulator. In addition to these great resources, we also encourage you to start locally. Get in touch with your local BBB like ours. And remember that when someone takes your money in a scam, it is a crime. So local law enforcement should also be involved. When in doubt of which of these resources to use to check out a financial professional, you can always go to saveandinvest.org. While making sure a broker is registered doesn't guarantee you'll be immune to fraud, it provides you the comfort of knowing you're working with a legitimate broker. For check and investment professionals and products, the state securities regulators find the appropriate regulator using the map tool on the saveandinvest.org site, or check with the North American Securities Administrators Association. State regulators maintain information on investment professionals doing business in your state. There's also the SEC Investment Advisor Public Disclosure website, which is investor.org. And then for brokers nationwide, we come back to FINRA for the broker check. So you can access this directly through saveandinvest.org as well. If the person is in FINRA broker check, that's a good sign. It means they are licensed through their employing firm and subject to comprehensive set of regulations that governs their business. If they are on FINRA broker check, it'll also tell you whether they are registered actively or not active. So pay close attention to a broker's disclosure information, including formal investigations and disciplinary actions initiated by regulators, customer disputes, certain criminal charges, and/or convictions, as well as financial disclosures, such as bankruptcies and unpaid judgments or liens. The presence of this information does not automatically indicate wrongdoing on the part of the broker. However, it'll kind of give you a clear picture of who you're working with, and just know where your money is going or how it's getting impacted. Review the broker's qualifications. So this section of the report describes where the broker is licensed and registered to do business. They might be only in a couple of states, one state, or all 50 states. So check to make sure that the broker is licensed in your state. Review their employment history. Look for potential issues that you would want them to explain, such as many job changes in a short period of time. And if you don't find the person in FINRA broker check, it can mean that the name of the broker or brokerage firm may be misspelled. The person is not licensed to sell securities. The broker is not registered with FINRA, and the brokerage firm is not a securities dealer. You can also check with your state regulator or the SEC. Now, for insurance agents, you can check their licensing through the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, just to make sure that they are licensed in your state. So we want to make sure you keep your hard-earned money. Here are some BBB and FINRA resources to help you learn more about scams happening across the country. So what we have on our bbb.org website, we do have a scam prevention section that gives you resources that you can read to help you understand some of these scams. I'm just going to jump to the other bullet points about the other BBB's website. So we have also a scam tracker where you are able to submit scams that you may be aware of or might have come across. And we use this for our data. So the more that we get of scams, the better. That way, if it is something that's emerging in the industry or the marketplace, we can report on it and alert others, because when you do submit the scam tracker, it's usually posted on the bbb.org for other people to find. And we do see that other people will come back to us and say, oh yeah, me too. I, ran into the same issue. So they'll see that this is something that's kind of ongoing, which creates more awareness. We also have our scam survival kit. So if you have been scammed, there are some resources and information there that might be helpful to kind of, help you out with those. And then FINRA has the securities helpline that you can call. And then also on their website, there is a section about investors to learn more. If you'd like to see your personal risk factors explained, there is a tool on finra.org, which is tools.finra.org/risk_meter. And this is a great tool. It's completely anonymous and it's quick. It'll help you to identify the behaviors you engage in that may put you at risk. So this is it's kind of hand in hand with that risk calculator that we have on bbb.org. The one on bbb.org, all you would need to do is put in if your age, your country, whether you're in military or not, because we do see a lot of military scams as well. And then it'll give you the top 3 of what you could possibly be targeted for. And then there's like a button in each of those scams so that you can read more about those. So thank you again for joining us today to learn about the red flags of fraud. Even if you don't remember what they are, remember, if you don't feel comfortable or have a gut sense that something is off, walk away. So before you invest, ask and check. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for such a great presentation and great information. If anyone has any questions, now is your time. Please put them in the chat and we will get those asked. Getting lots of thank yous. Very good information. Well, all you're getting is accolades and great jobs, great jobs. No one has any questions. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, can you talk about pyramid schemes?
What exactly, like just the red or the flags of what a pyramid scheme
Yeah, yeah. I
are?
just did it.
Well, pyramid schemes, I mean, I've seen where they tell you to join and they promise you'll get some sort of, payment or some return. But then you have to bring on other people. It doesn't, it seems like lately it's not as blatant to know that this is what you have to do until you actually get in there. Because why would they tell you that up front? So if you go and someone tells you, hey, join this, I would ask like, well, if I join, what does this mean? And you could flat out ask like, do I have to bring in other people? Because that's what the pyramid scheme turns out to be, is because before you can make money, you have to bring other people to invest into it. And that's how usually you'll get, if you even get anything from it. So that would be my first question, would be, what do I have to do? How many people do I need to bring in? Do I need to bring people in to join?
Okay, great. Would you consider it a scam?
That's a hard one. I personally wouldn't do it just because the risk is there and the return is not as big. I wouldn't say it's always a scam. I'm pretty sure there's some multi-level marketing. That's another thing that pops up these days that people think is a pyramid scheme. But there are some companies in the multi-level marketing section that may be legit. But again, if you feel uncomfortable or you don't get all the answers to your questions, then I would not put any investments in it.
Okay, next question. Thank you.
Yeah.
For businesses who are accredited with the BBB, are there any resources when customers use the BBB platform to advance their fraud efforts by filing fraudulent claims?
So we do have the complaint process. So if you are dealing with a business that is accredited, we highly recommend filing a complaint so that we can alert the business. Now, if multiple complaints come in of the same issue, that is something that we will address with the business and ask like, what's going on? This is, we'll take a look at that and see what kind of business practices they do have. But the more complaints we'll get about the same thing, then that's what's going to raise some red flags for us. So if you do work with an accredited business, you've been wronged, you feel like, this could, has impacted you in some, financial way, or you didn't get what you paid for or what you were promised. I mean, that would be something that you could file a complaint with, and then we'll bring it up to the business. But just to remind everyone, we are not a government agency. We're just a third party, kind of mediating between consumers and our businesses when it comes to the complaint process.
Great. One last question just came
Yeah.
in. How to tell if they're being scammed? She thinks that her friend is being scammed by an employment startup biz. Is there any maybe red flags that you could let them know if it's really a fraudulent?
I guess I have a couple of questions to figure out if they are being scammed, but some of the employment scams that we do see, like I mentioned in those examples, was that if they're being told, hey, send us money and we'll give it back to you, that's a red flag there. If you're buying your equipment and somehow you're sending it to the, like, in other words, an or an employer should not be asking you to pay for anything upfront. So if that's happening, that's a red flag. Like, I would not, if someone told me, hey, go buy your own computer or buy your own materials and things like that, I'd be a little concerned, because it's like, why am I spending that? So I guess it really depends on what your friend has been dealing with. If you want to send me an email, I can try to help you out with that. But I would just need a little more information of what they're going through. Also, if the business is not at the location that they say they are, that's also a red flag. And it's easy for a lot of these employment scams to pretend that they're in one of these buildings, especially in a big city in Chicago. They could say, oh yeah, because virtual offices are everywhere. So a lot of the scammers will either use a virtual office as an address, and if you don't verify that they're actually there, it's hard to tell whether they're legitimate or not. So my advice is, if you can meet someone in person at this place, that might be, that might put you at ease and just making sure, okay, it's not just some fake website collecting my information or saying that they're there when they're not.
Okay, great. Thank you. Oh, they said thank you. So apparently exactly what they needed. Any other questions? We'll give it one more minute. Again, getting lots of thank yous. Thanks a lot. Great information. It looks like that is all the questions.
Wonderful.
Great information.
Thank
Good.
you.
So I want to thank you so much for a great presentation and great information, like everyone has been saying. And I want to wish everyone a safe and fun, and I think cooler weekend. I hear it's going to be a hot one, but everyone have a great weekend.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.